So, look, the starvation crisis in Gaza is completely run amok. There were Gazans starving last year as well, where Israel was blocking the aid or they were destroying the aid. But we are at a point right now where this is a serious world catastrophe, even to the point where corporate media is even calling it out now and saying that something has to be done. And the world is seeing this happen. And recently, there was another attack at an aid distribution site which Cindy McCain also was apparently there for and is going to discuss as well. We'll get to that clip in just a second. But this is what is happening, folks. Israeli troops killed dozens seeking food near border, Gazan officials say. So let's get into what happened at this recent aid distribution. Israeli forces killed and wounded dozens of Palestinians on Sunday in northern Gaza Strip as crowds gathered near a border crossing where the UN trucks were entering the enclave with humanitarian aid. A convoy of 25 trucks from the World Food Program, a UN agency, was crossing into Gaza and encountered large crowds of civilians anxiously waiting to access desperately needed food supplies. As the convoy approached, the surrounding crowd came under fire from Israeli tanks, snipers, and gunfire. Now, you guys know we covered this a while back that there were IDF soldiers that went on record saying that they were told to do that. They were told to kill Palestinians as they came to gather aid. So this is not something that Israel can continue to deny anymore when you have their own soldiers that have publicly said, this is what we were told to do. The episode was the latest in a string of episodes in which Gazans lost their lives as they gathered to get food. Hunger and desperation have gripped Palestinians in Gaza during Israel's nearly 2-year military campaign against Hamas, actually against the civilians. This latest attack took place near the Zikam crossing between the Gaza Strip and Israel. More than 60 people were killed, according to the health ministry, and Mohammed, the director of Al Shifa Hospital in Gaza City, a field hospital operated by the Palestine Red Crescent Society in northern Gaza, was flooded with gunshot victims. So let's get into this video here from Cindy McCain as she discusses what she saw.
This is one of the worst tragedies we've seen so far in this particular war. What happened was we had clearance to go through the Zakim gate. We were through the gate. The Israelis had, as you know, they clear everything and they decide when and if you go in. And we began our trek down the road, and what we saw were thousands of people running towards us. And they were hungry, they're starving. And all of a sudden, the Israeli tanks, Israeli guns, Israeli weapons from all kinds started firing on the crowd. And it was just, it's something that I hope never happens again. But more importantly,
we'll pause right here for a second. This is Cindy McCain telling you what she witnessed, what she saw there. Guys, this is not, Gaza should not be a partisan issue. The genocide has happened under the Biden administration and under the Trump administration, and I call it a humanitarian issue. If you have any humanity inside of you at all, you should have a problem with this. Everyone needs to put their partisan shit aside. Because what is happening to like those kids, what's happening to the women, the children, it is absolutely disgusting. Disgusting. And I want to be very clear about something. What Israel's doing to Gaza, they can do to anybody else. You know why? Because they have the backing of the US government. Think about what Israel, and I've been thinking about this for a second. Think about what Israel would do to the United States if the US said, that's it, we're done with you. You don't think they wouldn't try to hurt us? These people are insane. Absolutely insane. And yes, they do have nuclear weapons. But this is what the United States wanted. This is who they called an ally. So everyone need to put their partisan stuff aside and call this out for what it is.
Our group, WFP, our people that work for us were there too, and they were put in grave danger as a result of that. No humanitarian aid worker should ever be a target of anything.
Well, this follows a trend over the last 2 months where over 800 Palestinians have been killed around aid distribution sites. The majority of those are at the controversial US-backed and Israel-supported Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Can you be very specific? Are you coordinating in any way or supporting in any way that operational model? And what is your view on the GHF?
Well, we are not coordinating and we do not work with GHF. As you know, we're a UN agency. And so we have our UN, the way the UN operates is different from what GHF is doing. I don't really have any information about them at all because we don't even talk.
Yeah, that's Cindy McCain right there, right? Now we're talking about how money matters, and I want to make that point with Israel as well. Yeah, you know, we have politicians that won't do the right thing when it comes to this particular issue. Now, I already went on my rant about AOC and her foolishness for her opportunism. But the majority of Congress won't do the right thing because they're complicit, because they're donors. It's AIPAC, it's Kufi, it's the Israeli lobby. It's always about the money. If you make the connection, that's really what it's all about. It's just like Francesca Albanese when she released that information, that report that told you all the companies that were profiting off of the genocide in Gaza. That's absolutely disgusting. But they don't care. It's all about money, folks. They don't care that they're killing children. They don't care that they're starving people. They don't give a damn. They just want to sit back and make money. And if they're okay with doing that to them, don't ever put it aside that it couldn't happen to you. You don't know what's going to happen. I think a lot of times we get really comfortable living in the United States and we think that it could never be us. We don't know what the future holds for us. Because a lot of these countries have gotten very tired of the West and very tired of the US policing their country. You don't know what the future holds. So always keep that in mind. This little girl right here, this little girl, she just wants to eat. That's it. She just wants food. They are starving these people to death.
يا ناس يا مسلمين يا عرب يا عالم أنا جوعانة.
Now, you really want to believe, because they want to make you believe that this is what the Bible wants. This is what the Bible says. This is what God wants. No. That biblical push, that message, when people need to read their own Bibles, that message that is being preached through Christianity is to excuse this. They want you to believe the same Jesus that is discussed throughout the Bible, who was open to everyone. They really want you to believe that he would be okay with this? Despite what you believe, whether you're religious or not, you really believe that. And for those of you who went to church, come on, think about it. Children. And if you have kids, you wouldn't want it to be your kid. And what's interesting about this is that you have Christine Amanpour. She is speaking to Antony Blinken. Now, she brings up this issue about the starvation in Gaza. Listen to what Antony Blinken says to her.
But I want to ask you this, because I interviewed you when you were getting that ceasefire back in January. It was the last day of the administration, just about.
That's right.
And I asked you, is there is the second part of it sorted? You've got a first phase and a second phase. And you said no. And it's clear to all observers that eventually Benjamin Netanyahu broke the ceasefire. And that's what the New York Times reports. That's what everybody reports. And, you say individual acts of cases that should be, investigated as war crimes. But you see others writing about, soldiers right now targeting and shooting to kill at people coming to get their food and basic necessities in that ridiculous thing that's been set up that doesn't work, in the name of the United States and Israel to give people food. You've seen deliberate targeting of children and women it's just unconscionable. So I need to ask you because it's super
but I'm going to help
important.
you.
Hold on.
Help you.
You don't need to help me. I want to ask
Okay.
Tony.
See what happens here? See how he tries to jump in to help Anthony Blinken? And why does he have to be sitting beside him anyway? Right? So Christine Amanpour, even her at this point in time is like, look, we got to call it like we see it. We see what's happening. This is why Israel wanted to shut down the media. This is why they were killing the journalists, because they don't want these crimes to get out. They don't want these crimes to get out. But it got out. And the world saw, and the world sees. I don't see how anybody can support Israel after this. I really don't. I don't see how. Because the fat cats in Congress told you to do so while they're filling their own pockets. They don't care about the people in Israel either. They just want to make money for themselves. Opportunists. This was what was so troubling about AOC's vote and her statement and her tripling down, because it's very obvious that she wants to be an opportunist too, that she's looking out for her career as well. She'll probably run for Senate, maybe later on even president. And she didn't want it on her record that she voted against this, giving the funding to the Iron Dome. All opportunists. So listen to what he says.
Because I want to get back to Matt Miller. Basically, he was pushed on what you might think, on the frustrations you might have had with Mr. Biden over Gaza and Ukraine policy. So Mr. Miller hinted that there were tensions. He said in his interview, "I'll probably wait and let the secretary speak for himself. But I will say, speaking generally, it's true about every senior official that they don't win every policy fight they enter into. And what you do is you make your best case to the president." He said that there were debates, and we know about the back channel or whatever, the channel for dissent in the State Department. People quit. People wrote about why they were upset. Whether and when to cut off weapons to Israel. You saw us in the spring of 2024 stop the 2,000 bomb shipments to Israel because we didn't believe they would use those in a way that was appropriate in Gaza. So that's your spokesman, who never gave a hint of this, and actually, I'm sure, kind of criticized my hardline reporting. So I want to know, what was there that kind of, did you have those frustrations? Could you have done more to stop what's now turned into, a slaughter?
Well, Christian, I think there's a larger dynamic that you have to take into account, because what were we trying to do? We were trying to get to, we were talking about this in the context of Iran. It's a very different situation, but in a sense, the same principle. We were trying to get to an enduring solution that ended the horrific suffering of people on all sides, and especially in all the days since October 7th.
This is a lie. Let me make something very clear. If they wanted to end the suffering, they could have ended it just like that. The way that they do that, stop giving Israel weapons, let the aid get to the people. It's really that simple. This is the same lie that he was peddling under the Biden administration, right? So you see, these people are paid liars, and some of them paid actors. This is their job. This is what they do to try to convince people that, well, we tried to. No, they did not try. The report was announced earlier this year. They never asked for a ceasefire. Never. Which some of us tried to tell you last year. It's all a game. There is no we try. Look back at history and you can see it for yourself. Ronald Reagan, when he had enough of Israel bombing Lebanon, he picked up the phone and said, "Stop. Israel's losing support." That's all it takes. There is no you try. You pick up the phone and you stop it. Antony Blinken is just as much a part of this. Antony Blinken co-signed everything that you see happening right now. Antony Blinken, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they all co-signed it. What did I tell you? If the Democratic Party didn't do the right thing, what made you think the next administration coming in was going to do the right thing? When the Democrats, who claim they're the party of the people and that they care about humanity and suffering and that they have empathy, if they are willing to allow the genocide to happen, what on earth would make you think the next administration coming in would do the opposite? They paved the way.
Palestinians in Gaza, men, women, and children who didn't start the conflict and were powerless to end it and were suffering because of it grievously. From day one, we insisted that the Israelis provide humanitarian assistance or allow humanitarian assistance to get to people who needed it. That was, as you know, an ongoing struggle, an ongoing debate. But every day of while we were in office, we pushed that, we pressed that. I don't believe there was any point at which there was a full embargo on that assistance, largely because we insisted that it go forward. Not very
and that
imperfectly.
happened under Trump. There was such an embargo.
So
do you see how this guy comes in to assist and to help? Listen, Butch Ware said the Democratic Party is dead. He said the Democratic Party was dead after this. And I believe it. Now, however, there are some that are out there trying to do the right thing. And one of those people just happens to be someone I think all of you like very much. And that is Chris Smalls, Amazon union organizer Chris Smalls. He is on the Handala on his way to Gaza now.
For 20 months straight, cargo ships were sent to Israel every 15 hours. These unions continue to ship these arms, and that is facilitated by some of the largest unions coming from the U.S. Labor leaders have been complicit, if not more than that, participated by
This is why, let me go back, because I got to say something about the unions.
arms, and that is facilitated by some of the largest unions coming from the U.S. Labor leaders have been complicit, if not more than that, participated by continuing to ship arms to Israel or haven't passed any resolutions. Amazon in particular has invested $7.2 billion into the Nimbus project, which is directly intelligence that is used to surveil and target innocent civilians of Palestine. So
Pause here for a second. This is why I said what I said about the unions. I said unions are a great first step, but at the end, I feel like the end game should be worker cooperatives. Because, and this is what I was telling Shama Sawant when she was on last time too, unions have been known to get corrupted. So Chris Smalls just told you that you have unions that are participating in this as well. Important for people to know.
they are not more than complicit, they are actively participating. People have to understand that unions have a responsibility to protect, to be the shield for the working class, and that doesn't exclude the Palestinian people. I want to explain to people, an injury to one is an injury to all. The people of Palestine are involved in trade unions. I've been blessed to meet many of the trade unionists. I've been blessed to have been in conversations in company with some of the presidents of these trade unions. Palestine is absolutely a trade union country. And so as a fellow brother of the trade union movement, there's no way that I can sit back on the sidelines and continue to watch this massacre take place every day. I hope to inspire more labor leaders around the world. I'm hoping that unions are watching right now. They're taking note, taking heed to take more of an initiative to pass resolutions to stop shipping arms to Israel.
Chris Smalls. He is one of 7 Americans that is on the Handala right now. And it makes me very happy because Chris Smalls didn't have to do this. Chris Smalls could have just rode into the sunset after his union, victory at the Amazon warehouse in Staten Island. He didn't have to continue to do any activism. He could have sat back and just wrote a bunch of books and maybe started a podcast and all these types of things. But look at what he's doing. Now, on Wednesday, Chris Smalls announced this as well. Tomorrow, join us live from All the Eyes of Honduras with U.S. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. 7 Americans on board. Yeah, there's 7 of them, guys. So live stream from the Freedom Flotilla with Rashida Tlaib. Join a live stream discussion between Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib and some of the U.S. citizens aboard the Freedom Flotilla. That is at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Palestine time. That is Chris Smalls out there doing the damn thing. You got to take the wins, like these types of wins, right? Like people who are willing to risk. They're risking a lot going out there. So shout out to that. And that's what gives me hope. That's what gives me hope. People like Chris, like the activists, the people who are like, no, forget this. We're going to go out there and fight anyway. That's what gives me the hope. Not politicians. I'm not standing by. This is why I wasn't, and this is another thing. This is why I wasn't disappointed or surprised by AOC's vote. This is why, because it just, I'm like, okay, so we here again. So don't put your faith and hope in these politicians. Again, the hero that you want is the person that you see in the mirror. It is going to be you and people within your community. That's going to be the hero. But I say that money matters. And I say it because if it's not for the money, this wouldn't be happening. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.